Hello and welcome to Stories, the True and the Fictional, the variety show that revolves around one central theme: stories and the people that tell them. If you haven't done so already, hit subscribe and ring that notification bell. And hey, if you're feeling up for it, leave a comment down below, let us know you subscribed, and we will give you a shout out. Hello and welcome, guys, to Story Chat, the offshoot of Stories, the True and the Fictional. We have an exciting guest all the way from Washington. Is that the place, Michael?
Washington State, yes, indeed.
Washington State. We're learning all about other countries, still avoiding our own for some reason.
Yeah. We don't like Australians at all.
No.
Oh, you're lovely people. I spent 2 weeks there. I had a grand time.
Where'd you go?
Yeah, see, but that's because you were a tourist at the time, and we want to keep the money coming in.
That's
but if you
true.
actually move here and live here, we're not very nice.
I know. I have a friend from high school who married an Australian and moved to Sydney, and she's like, "It's awful here. They're terrible people."
Well,
I can't wait to escape back.
I'm up in I'm actually at my dad's place at the moment, up on the it's a coastal sea town, so I'm actually in heaven right now. This is God's country up here. It's a place called Tea Gardens, right on the beach and the lake up here. So normally I'm coming to you from right in the heart of Sydney, which is just city, and I hate it. And I'm in that stage where I just want to live in rural towns and stuff like that. So I'm in a good mood today because I look out my window and there's beach. So
that will improve your mood. So I spent I was there because at one point in my life I was a roller derby referee.
Oh, nice.
And some Australian company thought it'd be awesome to bring 2 teams of roller derby girls from Los Angeles, New York, and we did a tour of Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane.
Oh, nice.
So I spent a little bit of time, a couple days in each of those cities. Which I feel was just long enough to give me the most shallowest of impressions of those cities. But
I'm gonna ask you a question, Michael. What was the worst city you visited, and why was it Melbourne?
Here's the thing. Okay, so this is my shallow observation.
Okay.
Sydney is like Los Angeles and New York mixed together. Melbourne is San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And Brisbane is Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
I loved Brisbane the most.
Mm-hmm.
It might be because I spent the most time there, because after the tour ended, I spent 2 extra days there.
Oh, awesome.
Which I really love Brisbane. Brisbane. It's Brisbane, right? Or Brisbane?
Yeah.
You said you had it spot on.
Brisbane. So I love Brisbane. Melbourne was fine. It was fine, and Sydney was just we were staying at the Olympic Village, so we only had like one afternoon where we got to see the Opera House, which, by the way, the Opera House, that building is filthy. You guys need a good power wash, because that 100%. Building's gross.
We need to get the Karcher out and just give it a hose.
Exactly.
Yeah. My uncle actually helped build the Opera House.
Ah. Well, can you get him on that? Does he know somebody who can request that?
He's a bit old now, but he actually had to abseil down the side and tell them to position the arches when they went on. But
no, I agree with you.
And they're supposed to look like that, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Apparently there was I don't know too much about. I mean, it's only my own country, but I don't know much about the history. But apparently, from what I remember, and Jamie, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a competition for designs for the Opera House back when it was built. I think in the 50s. I'm not 100% sure, but there was competitions, and I think it was a Swedish artist. I'm not 100% sure that won, and that's where the design came from. So
those Swedes.
Yeah, I know, right? They can't make a decision to save their lives, sitting on the border. But
they're always hedging their bets. They're like, maybe not.
Exactly. Oh, that's. Look, I will agree. I'm born and bred in Sydney, but I do like Queensland a lot. Like, that's my go-to holiday. Did you get a chance to go to the Gold Coast at all?
No, we were supposed to, but the tour originally was supposed to be like 5 cities, like all over the country. But ticket sales were so bad. I guess Australia just was not interested in American style roller derby. So it went from being like 5 cities all around the country to being cut down to just those 3 cities. We were supposed to do Gold Coast for one game.
Gold Coast is good, but it's more like it's just it is the key tourist destination. Like people that come to Australia will come to Sydney to do like the Opera House, the Harbour Bridge, and then they'll go to the Gold Coast to get drunk and make bad life choices. So,
I feel like when we were there was maybe like your guys' equivalent of spring break.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They call it schoolies.
Yeah. And then there was like, I might be misremembering, but I feel like there was a death, and that was like the big, like someone fell off a balcony. And
I remember that.
College kid had died, and so it was like a big deal. Which I'm like,
look, basically what it is when there's a break between what you guys will call your SATs. We call them they're what are they called now, Jamie? Is it UAC or something? It's like the big end of school tests.
HSC or
HSC, that's the one, yeah. And determines what university you go to with SATs at college. But there's a break of about 6 to 8 weeks between when year 12, our final year, finishes and the exams happen. I'm pretty sure during that 12 weeks, everyone just gets wasted, and most people do go to the Gold Coast, or if they're cashed up, they go to Bali.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would have been about right. Yeah, you probably would have been there right in the middle of that. So not a nice. I never went because I was I'm a massive nerd, so I never went on schoolies. I just wanted to stay home and play Final Fantasy.
Fair enough.
So, which is my idea of a spring break. Take some time off and study for my exams, and play role playing games.
There you go. That's really a more useful.
100%.
Yeah.
I learned more life lessons from Final Fantasy VII than I would have done from going on getting drunk and hooking up with people. So, all right, let's get cracked in. So, obviously, we know you're from Washington State. Why don't you, Michael, take a bit of time just to tell us who you are, what you do, and then we'll crack into some icebreaker questions.
All right, so I'm Michael Tanner. I am a comic book writer. I have a day job. Well, in theory, I have a day job, but my fun thing that's fun to talk about is being a comic book writer. I've been doing that for about 8 years.
Wow.
And that's been a lot of fun. I've gotten to do some really cool things with some of the books that I've done. I've self-published. I've been published by publishers. But yeah, before comic books, like I mentioned, I was a roller derby referee for 8 years in Los Angeles, which let me go to Australia for a paid vacation for 2 weeks, basically. And right now I'm pushing a couple different comic books, and I host a podcast myself called Burn After Pitching, which is a comedy pitching podcast where we have guests on to pitch their ideas on a particular topic, from new ice cream flavors to tie in with movies or TV shows or reboots of John Hughes movies. That was a recent episode we did.
Oh, nice. Excellent. You'll have to have us on one time, but I guarantee that we'll blow out the airtime if you get us talking about something like the Marvel movies or Ninja Turtles for Jamie, and on how to make a proper movie, not a Michael Bay movie.
I've been wanting to do a Ninja Turtles episode, so maybe we will have to make that happen.
Jamie seriously is his obsession. So we all love him. I love Ninja Turtles. I've read the comics are amazing. I've watched all the movies and watched all the shows, but Jamie is the go-to Ninja Turtle fan. So there you go. See, networking, it works.
There we go. It's the teamwork makes the dream work.
Exactly.
As John Cena said in the classic motion picture, Dr. Dolittle, starring Robert Downey Jr.
Exactly.
Was he in that? I couldn't see him.
I'm the wrestling guy, and when I say I'm the wrestling guy in this podcast, I watch between 14 to 16 hours of wrestling a week. So
I've had relationships end because of the amount of time that I used to watch wrestling back in the day. Yeah. And I used to
I was lucky. I was married for 10 years, and to my best, she's still my best friend now. But she was sort of into wrestling, mainly in the Attitude Era. But she was always kind enough to let me facilitate 14 hours at least a week of WWE, AEW, Impact, New Japan, you name it, Ring of Honor, everything. So yeah.
Well, then you're gonna like the comic book that I'm here to plug.
Exactly.
sci-fi wrestling comic book.
And then look, I love sci-fi. I love wrestling. So this is probably going to make me a very happy man. But before we get into that, we'll dive into the icebreakers.
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
So I'm just going to work out. I'm going to take the first one because question number 3 is my favorite question. So Michael, if you could get rid of one thing in the world, what would it be?
I really I tried to think of a good like quippy answer, because you got to have a quippy answer.
Yeah, of course.
But like, it's hard to think of a quippy. Like, if I could get rid of one thing, like, what would I want to get rid of? Well, like you want to do like the beauty pageant thing, but like, I'd get rid of poverty.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm a good person. Look at me say I want to get rid of poverty, or I'd like to get rid of racism. You know what? Yeah, let's get rid of the racism in the world. Which, yes, those are completely valid answers. But all of you think about, like, what do I really want to get rid of? I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do the nice in between one, which I don't know if you guys can even relate, but I would want to get rid of student debt, because I think
100%.
that's a thing that
100%.
we should get rid of that here in I know in the United States. I don't know what Australia's like education system, if you guys
look,
have
to be honest,
crippling student debt.
I've still got uni debt. So, and I'm 40, and I finished uni in when I about 18 years ago. So I agree.
And I say that, and I can say that because I'm very lucky to not have any student debt, because my dad had a really good day at the racetrack when I was in college, and literally that's why I do not have student loan debt. My dad picked the right ponies that day.
Excellent. And he did the right thing by you, and he's like, here you go, son, this is going to pay for your
you know, I thought when he left for those cigarettes I'd never see him again, but he came.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. No, we in Australia, our student debts is not too bad, because you have to earn over a certain amount of money before you have to start paying them back. So I just haven't hit that threshold. They keep increasing the threshold, which is great. I get a new job and get a promotion and earn a little bit more, and the government says, you know what, we're going to increase that. I'm like, okay, cool. If I never have to pay it back, I'm never going to pay it back.
Cool. Michael, what's on your bucket list, mate?
Bucket list. Okay. I think my bucket list now is a pretty easy one. I really would like to go to like Ireland or Scotland. And like do something crazy, like spend the night in a haunted castle. I don't believe in ghosts, but I think it would be neat to spend the night in a haunted castle.
Well, my ex-wife is Irish. She was born and raised over there in Southern Ireland, in the good part. She's been to Blarney Castle, you know, where you got the Blarney Stone, and they kept for good luck and everything. And my relatives are from Scotland and from England, so I'm right there with you. I wanted to go to Loch Ness. You know?
Oh yeah,
massive Loch Ness. I'm a believer. I hope. You know, I'd love to go there, but no, we've had a couple of people say that. So hopefully, now that the world's sort of slowly opening up from COVID again, we might be able to get there.
Yeah, and it's like, on terms of bucket list, that's such a very kind of like low effort one. Like literally, just buy an airfare, man. But like people who are like, I want to climb a mountain, like I want to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. I'm like, that's a good one. I mean, because that is like, you could kick the bucket on that. So that's a good bucket list one. to die while trying to you know, check one off your bucket list. That's baller move, man.
You just got to make sure you leave that to the last. You do that last.
Do the easy ones, do the simple ones, do the vacation ones, do the like, I want to learn to sail a boat. Great. You could watch a YouTube video, pal. But like the dangerous ones, save that for last.
Excellent. No, I think that's a very good bucket list. That's on mine too. So now this is a question we do pass judgment on, but I think you're going to be okay, because I feel like you're one of us. So I feel like your answer to this question is gonna be okay. And now this could be two parts. What is the greatest sitcom ever made? And if it's not your favorite, what is your favorite?
Okay. So I think there's two categories, because there's what's the greatest single camera sitcom and what's the single greatest multicam. The single cam greatest sitcom of all time is The Office.
Yes. Which one?
American only.
Okay.
Well, the American one, because the UK one is too short. Like there's like 12 episodes of that shit.
2 seasons.
Yeah, 2 seasons. So single cam, definitely The Office. Multicam, I thought like Office came to me right away.
Yeah.
For multicam, I think it has to be one that is still kind of in that classic sitcom, the classic modern sitcom, but also like redefined it. So I gotta go with Seinfeld.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. Seinfeld's amazing.
I think it's Seinfeld. Yeah.
And The Office as well, because The Office, I'm a big Ricky Gervais fan, so I do like the British one, but I'm a huge Steve Carell. Made The Office popular. He is Michael Scott. He is perfect. 100%. And we obviously got I can never pronounce his last name, but we got John
Krasinski.
Yeah, that's the one.
Krasinski out of it.
And he obviously he's gone on to be huge.
Yeah, it's wild that like Jim from The Office
is
like had the career that he has, where he's like, it's weird how famous he is for not really having done anything else as high profile. Like he doesn't have like that film franchise. He doesn't have those iconic roles other than Jim from The Office still. But man, that dude and now he's transitioning to being a filmmaker with the noisy alien movies. Yeah, The Quiet Place. So like, yeah, that's wild. And the thing that I really points to why The Office I think is the greatest is because there are like teenagers who watch that and love it. Like that is a show that should seem like a time capsule of like, there's so much, because my wife does like an annual rewatch of the whole series. Like so that means I do an annual rewatch of the whole series. There's so much in that show that is so firmly grounded in like 2005, 2006, 2007, like world technology, like viewpoints. But that a kid, like someone who was literally a toddler or not even born yet when that show was on, can watch it and still love it. Like there's some magic in The Office, especially those first 6 seasons.
Well, I just recently started my rewatch of it. I try and do this. I don't do it as much as you guys. I try and do it once every 2 years if I can. I'm up to season 3 at the moment, but I messaged Jamie when I was watching season 1, the diversity episode with Michael Scott doing the Chris Rock impression. I'm like, they could not do this now, you know.
And they don't. They took that episode out of syndication, which is funny because it a lot of it kind of like, you kind of missed the point, but
exactly.
so much of like comedy now, and he says as someone who's not like an old man like John Cleese complaining about no one can laugh anymore. I'm just like, I get it. Like there's some stuff that like people don't assume goodwill, and why should they assume goodwill? But like that's a classic episode that but also, is it necessary? No.
Not necessarily, no. Like, but it was the only way that we could get it. I bought it. I bought the Office collection on Apple TV on iTunes, and they didn't take it out there. But I think Jamie said he went to watch it on Disney Plus, which we have over here, and that episode is not there.
No.
I mean, I was watching it, and I think when I watched it when it first came out, it didn't affect me. But watching it a couple of months ago when I was going through my rewatch, I'm like, wow. Especially, I'm just like, the balls they had back then, you know what I mean? There's no other way to say it.
And there's weird stuff. Like, I am one of those people who I hate like bad faith takes on, like, there was for a while, I don't know, like in your guys' social media circle or whatever, there's a lot of things that were like, Jim and Pam are the real villains of The Office.
Yeah.
Are they just the most like realistic people? So when they are flawed, you hate it more because they're flaws you see in yourself or in your everyday life. Like the reminder of like, Dwight is insane.
I
And
love
like Angela is a bigot. Like there's like so many of these characters are far worse if you actually like get like Michael Scott is an idiot. Like he is.
He really is.
Like, so it's like, really, Jim and Pam are the worst people on that show? Like, come on, like for real. Like it's a very annoying, like it's someone wanting to have a fresh take on something or to like get, rage clicks. I'm like,
I think you've hit the nail on the head. It is because they're the most relatable, and we see the most of ourselves in Jim and Pam, and that's why we don't. Oh no, I'm not like that. So you know what I mean? Like,
like there's a good
that's
example.
A whole other discussion.
Well, there's one that like that for some reason it gets brought up sometimes, I guess, where like when Andy's character, when he comes back from anger management and he wants to be called Drew, like he wants to start fresh and like, oh, I'm Drew now. And Jim, and he's like, can you call me Drew? And Jim just was like, I'm not gonna do that. Where like at that time that reads one way, but now I'm be like, he's freaking call him Drew. What's the big deal, Jim? Just call him by the name he wants to be called. It's not a big deal. But at the time we were like, oh yeah, Andy's being dumb trying to change his name. Like now I'm just like, life's too short. Like let that person be called what they want to be called. I don't care. Like
100%.
It does me no harm.
No, I get it. And I think it's one of the shows that, it does stand the test of time because I've watched it multiple times. Like I don't hate me for this, but I tend to, when my rewatches, I tend to stop when Steve Carell leaves because I'm not a fan of Ed Helms too much. And then Will Ferrell. I like Will Ferrell, just didn't like him in that role.
Yeah, the show changed. Like they had to change. And so much of like Ed Helms becoming a focus was the Hangover movies.
Yeah, of course.
Where literally like they've said that NBC was like, the show's about Ed Helms now. Because he's the star. He's the star. And so like, okay, I guess we make it about Andy. And then once that kind of backed off and it became an ensemble show, that like it's a very different kind of show. And I still like it. There's some parts that like Erin, the new receptionist, she's a great character. Like she is like she kind of started to come into her own with Michael still there, and then once he left, like, well, she became the new Pam, and that's fine. Like I like that they at least they kind of understood that characters needed to grow and transition. So like Jim and Pam's stories are now more domestic and then depressing as they almost get a divorce, but you still get like weird stuff. Like there's a certain heart that once Carell left, the show could kind of explore everyone a lot more.
No, I totally agree. You're right. I suppose when Steve Carell was in it, it was kind of the Steve Carell show and the rest. I get what you're saying there. So maybe I might go back and then on my this rewatch continue on past his years. I guess because I was a massive Steve Carell fan. He was just, Michael Scott was just, it was so, there's some episodes I just sit there and I'm like, you cannot possibly be that stupid.
There's one episode that's a really hard watch nowadays, which is the episode China, where Michael becomes obsessed with China. Because he's like, as an American, it is such a horrific window into our future as a country. Because Carell is like, he's running for office in that episode, because I'm like, he's an idiot and he's getting people to believe his idiotic things. So that's a very hard watch, and I think that's why some shows from like I Parks and Rec I think is still a good show, but that is a much harder watch nowadays, because what seemed like satire of small town life became, oh god, it really is like that. Like I had the opportunity to learn about how the inner workings of a small town that I used to live in, a small city that I used to live in, and I'm like, oh, they are like, the city council are idiots. It is horribly corrupt. All of those all those city departments are run by like idiots. And the people who go to city council meetings are idiots, and they're the ones who are voting. And like, oh my god, this is horrible. So it's like it's so hard to watch. You're like, oh, this is like,
and that's why that's why Ron Swanson's the hero of that show.
100%.
Exactly.
100%.
He does not want to get involved with this awfulness.
Yeah.
Oh.
I still my favorite thing with that entire series, other than Chris Pratt, is when the little girl comes in and he she's learning about how the council works, how the government works, and she does a little essay, and his mum comes and goes, "This is the essay she wrote." It's like, why does government matter? It doesn't. It's
Look, I knew we'd get a good answer out of you, Michael, because I feel like they're literally the same kind of shows that we're into, and 100%, I agree. You just, it's really hard to watch sometimes, especially when you're growing up and you're dealing with, and you're like, hold on, this stuff actually happens.
Yeah, it's the point where it's no longer just like cringe, like, oh, it's so cringy, and you're like, it's too real.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this isn't funny because this is too real.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let Jamie take the next question.
Well, speaking of zombies, have you got a zombie apocalypse plan over there?
Absolutely. Although I used to, because as a writer of zombie fiction, I had a zombie plan, but now I've kind of softened on it. My original plan that I had for years was, I thought one of the best places to go, depending on kind of time of day that the apocalypse hits, I guess, would be, I don't know if you guys have them there, but Costco. Which is a big warehouse store. Okay, so I think at Costco, because it is a warehouse. There are very few entrances and exits to the main building, and the main entrances are drop doors like a garage, and it is fully stocked with food, clothes, tools. It's fully stocked, but also it's usually full of people, and that's probably not the safest space. But if like in the night,
I was going to say, midnight or something. If it,
I would go to a Costco with a grappling hook or something to get on the roof, find my way in. But yeah, I think a Costco is probably the if I'm sheltering in place. When I lived in California, like the idea of escaping to the mountains or less populated areas is less likely, because you got to go through a heck of a lot of city before you can get there. But now in Washington State, like there's a lot more trees. There's still a lot of people, but there's a lot more trees, so places to hide on my way to the Costco.
Well, with Costco out here, it's kind of just really, Jamie, you probably agree, it's kind of just sort of happened in the last 5 years. We only have, I think, maybe about 5 in New South Wales. So luckily one of them's quite close to sort of the same distance between me and Jamie. So, but I always said we have this kind of like your Walmart. We have a store called Bunnings, which is it's essentially a huge hardware store, like a massive chain. Chainsaws, axes, easy ways to make flamethrowers. I'm not encouraging these kids, if you're listening, don't go to Bunnings to make flamethrowers, but it's easily to do. They're the kind of, and they've got the shears, because you always see in horror movies, I know, a zombie's got to get its head shot off.
Oh yeah. If you got a good pair of garden shears, you're going to do okay.
Lawnmowers as well. I don't know if you I don't know. Do you remember an old Peter Jackson movie called Brain Dead, Michael?
Of course. I watched Brain Dead years ago. Yeah.
Oh, I love Brain Dead. One of Peter Jackson's earliest movies. But the scene with the lawnmower, and they cut down about 100 zombies just with the lawnmower. I've always wanted to do that. So. Bunnings would be my place, but Jamie lives in the mountains, so I guess I'd probably stop by Bunnings, grab some stuff for us, and head up to his place. The mountains is a good idea, I think, that you've had, because lots of forest, lots of trees.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, there's only one road into my town.
Well, there you go.
Backed onto
that also means there's only one road out.
Yes.
Oh, there's fire trails.
Jamie's a man of the bush. He knows. He'll be able to get us out, I'm sure.
I know all the secrets.
All right, the last question, and probably one of my favorite. Elon Musk gives you a call, Michael, and says, I've just invented an electric time machine. I'm not willing to buy Twitter at the moment, but I've got an electric time machine, and I want you to test it out. What do you do, and where do you go?
I go back to South Africa, and I somehow con Elon Musk's dad out of that emerald mine so we don't have to deal with Elon Musk in the modern day. I'm gonna take the hit. If I get back to the future and I just slowly fade away, I'll take that hit. World of 2022.
If that goes awry and then all of a sudden the time machine disappears and then yeah, wow.
But then I've got an emerald mine, which apparently was quite profitable.
And then all of a sudden, it's not Elon Musk disappears from our Twitter feed and it's Michael Tanner.
Yeah, and oh man, and I've become what I sought to destroy. The poetry of it.
I was going to say, and you might know this being a comic book writer, you've got a touch of the Alan Moore. So I think if I could picture you an old like an Alan Moore lookalike back in the days, you know, just Elon Musk is gone and now no more like Teslas or anything. It's just sci-fi and comedy and wrestling, exactly. And I love it. And I'll be your right hand.
Yeah.
Right hand.
Sit at the right hand of the new god.
That's probably my favorite answer so far.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. You're turning his technology on himself. Oh, fantastic. All right. Well, thanks for answering those icebreaker questions, Michael. So now the reason that we're here. So tell us about your comic book. We'll start with the comic book.
All right.
But yeah, tell us about, so my question being, I'm a massive comic book nerd. I read all labels, all publications, you name it. You obviously mentioned in the intro that you're self-published, but you've also worked with some publishers. So what publishers have you worked with?
So most of my books are out through Oni Press.
Yeah,
most people know as the publisher of Scott Pilgrim. That's like the high point. I also, unfortunately, I can't say who. I've got another book series coming that's about to be announced from a major book publisher. I was hoping that I'd be able to start talking about it, but have not gotten the go ahead yet. Okay. But it is a fun middle reader sci-fi, like grounded sci-fi 2-book series that should be announced soon.
Excellent.
And so from Oni Press, the first series I did with them, and it's still ongoing, is called Junior Braves of the Apocalypse.
Okay.
It's a kids fighting zombies book. It's about a group of junior braves who are kind of like the Boy Scouts, but not the Boy Scouts. They go on a week-long camping trip where they learn all sorts of fun outdoor wilderness skills. And when they return to their small mountain town, the zombie mutant apocalypse has happened. The town is destroyed. Their families are missing. Everyone else they come across is either a hideous zombie mutant or has been driven insane. So now the junior braves have to use all of their wilderness survival skills to make it through this dangerous new world. So the first 2 books in the series are out now. The third book is a bit delayed due to like COVID issues. So it's probably, like, realistically, it's probably coming out in either late 2023 or mid 2024 based on publishing cycles. And then I also am working on a series called Orcs in Space. And I'm doing that with Abed and Rashad Gaith and Justin Roiland, co-creator of Rick and Morty, and the artist Francois Vignon. He's French Canadian, so I always have to throw that little extra pizzazz whenever I say his last name.
Pronounce it right.
And that's a really fun comedy sci-fi book about 3 idiot orcs from a kind of Dungeons and Dragons style planet who end up stealing the most advanced spaceship in the galaxy and go on a wild sci-fi adventure. And that is 12 issues, and I think the second collected volume just came out. By when this episode goes out, will have just come out, I think, the week or 2 before. And the 4 issues are going, thanks to the awesome paper shortages going on in the publishing industry. The last 4 issues are digital only, but those are available on Comixology. And once those issues are out, that'll also be published in a physical volume 3 collection. It's a really fun series. It was a lot of fun working with Justin and the 2 brothers, Abed and Rashad. Abed, we always like, if the name Abed sounds familiar, he's actually the namesake of Abed from Community.
Oh, really? Oh, excellent.
Yeah, he used to hang out and work with Dan Harmon, and Dan named Abed after.
Oh, wow.
So that's always a fun like bit of trivia to add in there. The character wise, they're not really that similar, but that's the namesake. But yeah, Orcs in Space is a lot of fun. And then for self-published books, I did a couple years ago. I did a one shot, which is my homage to action exploitation movies from the late 70s, early 80s, called Strike Team Codename Diamond Force.
Oh, that's a movie from that era.
It is right. So it's when the president's mistress is kidnapped by ninjas, only Strike Team Codename Diamond Force can save her.
Okay, where can I get this now, Michael?
You can digitally.
I'm talking about right now on my phone. I want it
right now. I will email you Strike Team Codename Diamond Force because it's really expensive to ship to Australia.
Yeah, and you know what? We don't have. I do most of my reading digitally because we don't have. I think there's like 5 comic book shops in the whole of Australia.
Yeah.
They've shut down over the last 10 years. Yeah, so I do all my reading through Comixology. So
I will send you a copy. Other people who aren't inviting me onto their podcast, you can get it through my website, buymichaeltanner.com, which is bymichaeltanner.com, or you can visit my web store where you can buy Michael Tanner comic books. Excellent. So I did Strike Team Codename Diamond Force through Kickstarter. It was crowdfunded with a great artist, Lucas Kowalczuk, who was I always described as kind of 80s TMNT on acid. Like it's a very kind of crazy cartoony style. He does a lot of 80s throwback books. He did a book called Only Wrestling is Real, which is great.
Right up my alley.
Yeah. And then so right now I'm running a Kickstarter for a book called Battle Grapple Rebel, which is a sci-fi pro wrestling book. It's in the far future, humanity is now a star-spanning galactic confederation, and the most popular form of entertainment is the Battle Grapple, which is what we would call pro wrestling.
Nice.
And it's about a young battle grappler who kind of just graduates from grapple school, and he's looking for gigs and he wants to make it big in the industry. And it's hard because it's a very big story, but only the first issue. Like this is Kickstarter for the first issue, so I can't reveal too much. But it really is: can a wrestler save the galaxy?
Yes, yes, they can.
Absolutely.
Sorry, spoiler alert, but in my mind,
spoiler alert. I think he's going to do it. He might do it. His name is Spin Kilter, and he's supposed to be like kind of like that, very much like meat and potatoes baby face, like kind of naive, doesn't really like. He's sweet, and the grapple business is cutthroat. He's got to find a way to make his mark, and so this first issue is the start of that journey.
And people can jump on board Kickstarter, and which I will be doing after this podcast, and support you straight away.
Yep, it goes through May 9th.
Yeah.
And the book was first planned for black and white because color is expensive.
Yeah.
But if we get to 100 backers, which hopefully will be there by the time this episode comes out, but if not, if we get to 100 backers, we've got the colorist on board, and he'll do the book in color. So everyone who backs it will get a color version of the book. And we had some pretty fun stretch goals, like trading cards for the grapplers, and we had a tier that you could get a customized action figure of yourself as a grappler, or it didn't necessarily have to be yourself, but you could like get a custom action figure. That was our big ticket item, and I think there at one point all of them were sold, but as what happens with Kickstarter, sometimes pledges drop out, and so one person dropped out, so there was one more, and we're thinking about adding more. So if you're listening to this, go check out the Kickstarter page and see if there's any more custom action figure level available.
100%.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It was we've had some sort of beta readers look at it who are familiar with wrestling, and they were like, this is legit, you got the terminology down, like, wow, this feels real. And it all came out of me getting lunch with an old friend of mine who we used to we actually he did comedy improv and I did comedy improv with the same group, but at different times. But he also used to train as a pro wrestler, and he decided it wasn't for him after like very early on. He got like his front teeth knocked out. He's like, this is fun, but this isn't for me. But we were talking about it, and he's also like a huge Star Wars fan, and we were just talking about like pro wrestling and like sci-fi and Star Wars and stuff. And we're like, what would pro wrestling be like in the Star Wars universe?
Amazing.
Like the novel idea, and whenever you see pro wrestling depicted in media, It's either like a shoot, like they are really trying to kill each other, especially if you see it depicted in like, if you take pro wrestling and move it anywhere other than right now where people understand that it's a show and like things are predetermined and whatnot. But if you did like a medieval pro wrestling thing, it's they're in medieval times, but they're trying to actually kill each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it's like it's the episode of Star Trek Voyager with The Rock, where it's like it's gladiatorial. They're actually trying to kill each other, but it's under this, you know, veneer of pro wrestling. This does not do that. This is pro wrestling. Everyone understands what it is. It's not seen as a sport. It is a program with athletes performing.
Entertainment,
but it's entertainment. So they understand, and so that allows us to kind of tell the story like it's a underdog sports story in the context of pro wrestling. So it's kind of sports, kind of not, but it's kind of a lot of the trappings. But you can also talk about it in the way of like, these are characters. Like the spin has to worry about like what's my character going to be, because I'm going to have to kind of be that character when I'm like out in the world. And so it's playing with both sides, like the in the ring and the behind the scenes, and how it can affect people's lives.
That sounds amazing. Seriously, like that's. I mean, it's I mean Look, I'm speechless. I want it now. Seriously, like
I like it's, and I'll be honest with you guys, because here, like when the episode comes out, like, well, you know, it'll be close to wrapping up. Like we are funded, but the funding goal was only like the first step.
Exactly.
And we're really trying to get like to 100 backers is great, but we also need more money to pay that colorist. So like getting the dollar amount up is important. And it's been kind of it's been a struggle. Like crowdfunding is rough. It is rough, and it's emotionally draining. And it's like I am going from this recording into another podcast to promote like the book. And then tomorrow night I'm recording 2 podcasts to promote like the Kickstarter. It's really exhausting. And so I get where like I have a friend who like Russell Naholty, who he basically is a one-man publishing company, and he runs like 5 Kickstarters a year that all fund, like he now has spent years building his audience where he'll have a Kickstarter that raises $20,000, but then he breaks it down. He's like 10,000 of that goes to actually printing the book. 5,000 of it goes to paying all the people who made the book possible. So he's like, I'm not making money. Like it might seem like I am bringing in a ton of money, but I'm not. Like I'm getting enough money to pay for the next book, like to get started on the next book. Like,
and hopefully hoping that you get discovered, or that someone picks it up and gets it out to a wider audience. You know, exactly. You just
and I'm very lucky, and I always will explain that like I am very lucky to have gotten books published by a publisher. Like like my first like Junior Braves of the Apocalypse came out through a publisher. I didn't have to pay for that. Like my first real comic book work was someone who paid me. They didn't pay me that a lot, because nobody makes money in comics. There are 10 people in comics who like,
unless you like the Jim Lee, the Jeff Johns, the CB Cebulski, those kind of people, they make money out of comics. But
they make money, and a lot of the money, like Matt Fraction will talk about how like the most money he ever got from comics was not from comics. It was from Hollywood optioning the rights to one of his books. He's like, I was only able to afford a house. Like I bought my first house because of Hollywood money. Like
was that Sex Criminals?
I don't think it was. It was, if memory serves, like when he like the book he said the rights got him able to buy a house was a book of his I had not read.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think it's even like predates Casanova. Like
oh wow,
like a long ass time ago. And there is a comics is weird because everyone wants to kind of pretend that they're in it for the love. And of course, and a lot of us we're in it for the love. Like you wouldn't be doing this unless you loved it. But anyone who says that they would turn up their nose to like Hollywood money is lying or has a trust fund. Like
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like we all want our art to pay us.
Yeah.
That's why we don't just
100%.
put it up on, on our own, personal blog. Like we all are trying to like make it so we can live off doing something fun.
And that's me and Jamie used to be back in the day. We used to be musicians, so we were the same. We were back in the punk rock era. We were in 2 punk bands, and while we loved it and it gave me some of the best times of my life, I wanted to be able to live off that. You know what I mean? Like if it just makes it that much more worthwhile. It doesn't mean that you're going to produce anything less than perfect when you're writing for yourself, but still the appreciation. And to be honest with you, if you can get it published by a publisher, it's going to be seen by a whole bunch more people than it would necessarily, and that's what you want. And Only Press is good. I remember one of my favorite comics. I don't know if you've heard of it. Charles Soule. He did Letter 44.
Oh yeah.
On Only Press, I loved that. That was, and so that's why when you said Only Press, I'm like, okay.
I used to get back in the day. We used to get kind of like Oni care packages. Where they would send creators like a box of like, hey, these are like a couple books that are coming out. You get kind of sneak preview. And so like Letter 44 was one of the first ones I got. Made me feel like I had arrived, as like they sent me comics. I was like, yes, this is real. I'm a professional. They sent me something for free.
Exactly. And for the fact, like Charles Soule did one of my favorite runs on Daredevil. And like I actually reached out to him after I got the first trade of Letter 44. And he actually replied back to me. We had a bit of a conversation on Twitter, and I thought that was really good because I'm like, I'm just going to write. This guy's not going to see it. I'm just going to tell him I really, really love this book, and I hope you make it for a long, long time. That's all it was. And the fact that he retweeted and said, "Hey, thank you for the feedback," all this, and it was really good, And he seems like such a nice bloke. But yeah, as soon as you said Only Press, I'm like, I know that.
There you go.
Can you get that book you were talking about with Only Press? Can you get that on Comixology as well?
Absolutely. Either Junior Braves or Orcs in Space. They're both on Comixology.
Excellent. No, definitely. Now I'm gonna ask you 2 questions that may or may not extend this podcast. We'll try not. One is comic related, and one is wrestling related. So we'll start with comic book related. So obviously you're a comic book writer. So who is your favorite comic book writer of all time and favorite artist of all time?
That's a really good one. I think for artist, I'll answer the artist one first. Favorite of all time, I think it's going to be Jim Lee.
Yeah,
I think he is so iconic, because it's one of there's same. I will put John Byrne in the same kind of category, although he's not my favorite.
Yep.
When Jim Lee drew a character, that became what that character should look like. And that's like it's for the 90s on through 90s through early 2000s, like during when he was working, like not just doing special stuff, and he wasn't just in the office, like when he was doing art. It just became like that's what he should look like. That's what Captain America should look like. That's what Psylocke should look like. That's what Wolverine should look like. That's what Black Widow should look like. If it was like not just X-Men characters, like if they showed up anywhere, like that Nick Fury only looks right when he looks like Jim Lee drew him. And that's like in the 80s, like John Byrne, like very similar, like because he had like a very like Jim Lee had style but also clarity, where John Byrne had clarity. Like I knew exactly what those characters looked like after John Byrne would draw them. So artists, I think it's Jim Lee. I think it's got to be Jim Lee.
I love Jim Lee's Batman. That's my favorite of all time.
Exactly. Like that is like so. Like I like the first time I saw Jim Lee's Batman, I'm like, that's what Batman looks like now.
Yes.
Where I think like before that, I might have like immediately flashed to like something weird like Norm Brayfogel's Batman, who like demon ears and like looked like scary monster man. But yeah, like Jim Lee, like it's like that's what that character looks like now. Writer, I'm gonna go with kind of a odd one, which is Ray Fox.
Okay.
Because he's the only comic writer that ever made me cry. His book, The People Inside, is is a piece of art. Like I think it's one of the greatest graphic novels ever written. Because he taught himself how to draw. So he drew that book because he knew what he wanted to do with the first book was called One Soul. And he knew what he wanted to do, and he knew he could not convey that to an artist as well as he wanted to. So he's like, I have to teach myself how to draw so I could do this book. Okay. And so One Soul is kind of, I forget what the grid is, but it's grid style, like 8x8. Each panel follows one character through the whole book, but it can be informed. Like you could pick up that book, read the first panel on each page, and follow that one character storyline from beginning to end. Or if you read it like you would a normal comic, left to right, then row by row, you would get all these different character stories, but they would also flow and inform each other. And it works pretty well. When he did The People Inside, similar format, but he had kind of mastered it when he did The People Inside. Follows different characters, and you would have, if two characters like met, their panels would be next to each other, so it'd become one big panel. You see those two characters are normally like right next to each other, but they meet, it's one panel. And it's their life stories. So as those characters pass away, those panels become black. And so by the end of the book, with the final character, like it's same panel grid outline, but they're all black. I was reading it on my lunch break at work at a public park. And so I walked back into my office, like tears like coming down my face. So Ray Fox, I think, like I've never really been asked that question before, and I'm glad you did, because it
really okay.
Yeah, and he's a very nice guy. I've stopped bringing it up so much because I feel like I make him really uncomfortable. Because like it's one thing, like we're like, oh, like at a convention together, and Oni's like doing a dinner, like we're at a dinner party together, whatever, and be like, oh, I love blah blah. But because whenever anyone brings up like, oh, what's your favorite graphic novel, or like, oh, what, like I just on Twitter like 2 days ago, someone was like, what graphic novel made you cry? I was like, I used to tag him in it, but I felt like it was just like very uncomfortable as like a work acquaintance who's really into whatever like you were saying. Oh, my computer's freaking out right now. Oh.
Well, I'm definitely going to check that out. Hopefully I can find it on Comixology, because I honestly read comics every day of the week. There's only a few that have made me cry. Have you ever read I Kill Giants?
I have not, but I've had that recommended to me.
It's only because I went through a similar thing as the main characters. I lost my mum about 11 years ago, so I read it around that time, and I'm the same as you. I read it on my lunch break, and I've gone back into work, and they're like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I'm like, "It's the worst."
I read a comic book.
And that's honestly. So I'm going to look that up as well. But yeah, I feel like comics are really underrated that way, because there've been certain moments in my life when I've been reading. You might even be Spider-Man and Batman are my all-time favorites, and Spider-Man has made me cry so many times in the comics, because I feel like he's the everyday, like he's broke. He's, you know what I mean? Like he just wants to make life, and I feel like if the art, not only is it the writer, but if the artist can make you cry because of what you're reading. So I'm definitely going to check that book out. Thank you so much for that. I do it. It's kind of a selfish question for me too, because I do like to get recommendations. So 100%. No, that's Ray Fox and The People Inside, was it?
The People Inside, yeah.
Excellent. And now my next question, I'll try not to make it go on too long. It's wrestling related. So Jamie, go make a coffee if you like. No, I'm joking. Jamie doesn't like wrestling. He doesn't. He obviously knows The Rock and John Cena and stuff like that.
We've been through this. My favorite wrestler is Bonesaw.
Macho Man from Spider-Man. Yeah, I try to teach Jamie. Yeah, that's actually Macho Man Randy Savage. He's it's Bonesaw. So, who's your favorite male and female wrestler of all time?
Randy Macho Man Savage is my favorite wrestler of all time. That's my answer now, because previously my favorite wrestler was Chris Benoit.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, it's touchy.
Like literally, he was my favorite. Like, like he's what got me into wrestling in 1997. Like after like friends were like, oh, you got to watch WCW now, it's great, like they got this thing NWO and whatever. And like I remember turning it on, and it was the Benoit Booker T Best of 7 TV title series, which I'm like, this is amazing. And that just made me like a Benoit fan. So then like and then also to find out, like, not only was like, did he like do a horrible thing, but also that he was actually kind of a dick in real life. That was very disappointing. So even though Randy was a dick in real life and was kind of awful, he seemed to definitely have mellowed out in his old age. And I'm very happy that he got to, even though he died way too young, he got to mellow out. But yeah, like Macho Man, definitely. Like, even as a kid, before he face turned, he was my favorite like bad guy, and then when he face turned, that just made me like, yay, Randy.
So were you a fan of the Mega Powers? Back in the day, Hogan and Savage?
Oh, of course. That was like a dream come true, because as like a kid, I'm a Hulk Hogan mark because I'm a kid.
Of course. Everyone was a Hulkamaniac back then.
Exactly. And I was very lucky that as a kid, where I had a gadgety uncle who could hook us up with like a satellite dish and a satellite box. So I got to see those pay-per-views as a kid. So like I loved, you know, I think it was WrestleMania 4. Like I'm pretty sure I saw every pay-per-view, which, you know, there are fewer pay-per-views that are like 4 a year, but I think I saw every WWF pay-per-view from WrestleMania 4 through maybe 7. And so I consider myself very lucky as a kid to being able to see those live and just like cheer and be like, I am seeing something amazing.
100%. Like I remember what we had, because in Australia we didn't have any of that. We didn't have the W. We had Saturday Morning Superstars, which used to be Saturday morning. But one of my best friends at the time, his dad ran a pub, and in Australia, not really country, but back in those days, pubs rented VCR, like vintage tapes. And because he knew me and him loved the wrestling, he would get all the old pay-per-views on VHS. Nice. So we would start from, I think the first one was WrestleMania 7, the one that was in Las Vegas with the Roman theme.
That sounds right.
Yeah, that's the one we started on. And then we went like Royal Rumble is still my all-time favorite pay-per-view. I will watch it every year, whether I agree with WWE.
Okay.
I will watch it every single year. And you know what? I watched WrestleMania this year, and it was absolutely amazing. I absolutely love it. But seeing as Macho Man was your favorite, I'm going to put you on the spot, man. Do you want to give me your best Macho Man? I'll do it too to make you feel comfortable.
Okay. Oh my God, you gotta loosen up your throat a little bit to do it. Well, yeah, you know, Mean Gene, when you are on the top of the mountain, there are those who are gonna come chipping and chopping and trying to bring you down, but you gotta say no. You gotta say no, because you're the king. You're the king. You're the cream of the crop.
Okay, I'm not even doing mine because that just killed it. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was spot on. That was and Jamie, as you would know, his character Bonesaw in Spider-Man was literally just the Macho Man as done by Michael there.
Bonesaw is ready.
Wow. Oh yeah, man. Oh look, I agree with that whole era and the whole Miss Elizabeth, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man triangle, as they called it. You know.
Yep.
Searched her for too long, man. Like you lingering and stuff.
I've seen the lust in your eyes.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome. And who's female wrestler of all time?
I got all time. Although I don't really watch too much now, but I loved Asuka when I first saw her. So like that Asuka Charlotte match from I think like 3 or 4 years ago now. It seems like forever. I was like, that match is amazing. That was like the best match on the card. So I still gotta go with Asuka, even though I'm not really watching too much right now.
Charlotte Flair is obviously her father's daughter. She is one of the best workers in wrestling. I'm not even going to say in females, in wrestling today. I mean, when you've got a dad like Ric Flair, which I'm sure Jamie's even heard of, Ric Flair, haven't you, Jamie?
Heard the name.
Yeah, there you go. Ric Flair is like, you've got a big, but I know. Unfortunately, Asuka hasn't been on TV for quite a while now, which is a shame because she's such a good wrestler. But yeah, I will 100% agree. Look, I'm going to if you put anyone in the ring with Charlotte Flair, you're going to get a 5-star match. She's good on the stick. She's good. She's a heel at the moment, and she loves it. You can tell people just boo her, and she's just like the old Ric Flair days. Just bring it in. I know I'm what you paid money for. So
absolutely, like she's one of those people who should only really work as a heel.
100%.
Kind of like whenever Rick was a babyface, it was just a cup of coffee for his next heel turn, and that's kind of how Charlotte should be treated.
100%, and like they didn't call Ric Flair the dirtiest player in the game for no reason. You know what I mean? Like I can go back and watch some of his old stuff with the NWA and Harley Race and King Kong Bundy and all that back in the day. So yeah, 100%, man. Thank you for taking the time to answer my personal questions about comics. Comics and wrestling is all I live. You know what I mean? So when Jamie told me that we're going to have you on the podcast, this is just perfect. Are you having me on the podcast or what? So I really appreciate you taking the time to answer those questions for me, even though they weren't on the list.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let Jamie talk now.
All right, yeah. No, we don't want to keep you too long because we know you've got another interview coming right up. But do you just want to talk about your podcast? Tell us what it's about. I had a bit of a listen. I know what it's about, but tell our listeners.
So it's a monthly show. So it's if you want to get into it, it's real easy because we've been doing it for like 3 years and we only have like 30 episodes. You can jump in at any point. So we have a panel of, usually it's either writers or comedians, sometimes both, who come on and they're given a topic ahead of time. So like for an upcoming episode, we're doing pitch a comeback vehicle for an actor who needs a comeback. And so our panelists will kind of prepare and they'll come on and they'll pitch their comeback. So if it could be like, I think, I'm trying to think of an actor like, I think Ed Helms needs a comeback. He hasn't really done too much high profile stuff. So I think he should star in a TV show about blank, and it should be about this. And these other actors should be on it too. So they get a topic and then they pitch their idea on it. Or someone might be like, I think Ed Helms should host a cooking show because I think it would be fun to watch him cook stuff. And it should be on Peacock. And they should have a guest from every new Peacock show on. So it's pretty like kind of loose. A lot of times just due to the nature of like ease for our guests, it's pitch a movie or pitch a TV show. Because those are kind of simple. We have done things like pitch like what comic book you think should be turned into a movie and what the movie should be. So like someone did Ambush Bug, which is kind of Ambush, who's kind of Deadpool before Deadpool in a way.
Yeah, he was.
So like one of the panelists pitched like, this is what I think an Ambush Bug movie should be. Or one of the other guests was like, I really think the comic Bitch Planet is really good and should get a movie, and this is what the movie should be. Which is great because Kelly Sue DeConnick, the writer, retweeted my tweet about promoting that episode.
He's such a good. I love Kelly. It's awesome.
So it's really simple like that. Usually we used to do like 2 prepared pitches and a surprise pitch, but now we're just doing a surprise pitch and the prepared pitch. So the surprise pitch will be something that is more keyed into whatever, like if a new movie's coming out or like some other thing that's happening in the now, which is like, hey guys, you have 2 minutes to think of your pitch. So the most famous example we always do is when the first Venom movie came out and we're like, okay, Baskin Robbins is doing a movie tie-in ice cream flavor for Venom. What should that flavor be and what should the ice cream look like? And so a lot of it was like, that's good too. There's a lot of like shellfish and lobster flavored ice cream and with squid ink like diet black. So it's like black ice cream. But yeah, so it's a lot of fun. It's usually runs about an hour, so it's not too long. You can usually, if you've got a long commute, you can either listen to it all on your way to work or break it up like first half, second half. But it's called Burn After Pitching. I don't know if I mentioned that. So Burn After Pitching. On Twitter, we're at Burn Pitching Burn Pitching.
Excellent.
Wonderful.
Excellent. I've just subscribed now as we speak. So I've got a long drive home tomorrow from my dad's place. So I'm looking for something.
There you go. We did for our holiday episode. We had people pitching a movie starring John Cena and Florence Pugh.
Did anyone say The Invisible Man?
No. Well, that one was a very fun. Usually for our holiday episodes, we do a unique gimmick. So for this one, for our past holiday episode, was one writer was given just movie starring John Cena, Florence Pugh, and so he pitched his version of the movie, and then we did studio notes to send to the next panelist. So the next panelist got to listen to that pitch. And then we're told, oh, the studio wants it to be more science fiction. Can you make it more science fiction-y? So then that person would record their pitch of doing the science fiction version of the John Cena Florence Pugh movie using the same premise. And then the studio would have further notes and send it to another panelist to listen to. So it was like a kind of a game of telephone.
Nice.
So like by the end, the original pitch was like, the original pitch was, Florence Pugh and John Cena are future in-laws who get stuck in a cabin together over Christmas, and John Cena is it's a world where Santa is real, like undeniably real. He brings presents to all the children of the world, but John Cena's character is a Santa denier. He believes that there is a group of people who believe Santa is a conspiracy by big government. And then so it's like the next one's like, oh, make it more sci-fi. So it's like, oh, Santa might actually be an alien trying to take over. Like it kind of escalated in different ways. So that's a really fun episode if you're looking for one to get into.
I'm definitely going to get that one.
Listen to that one and then be like, why are the rest of the episodes not this format? And you're like, oh, there you go.
Yeah. No, 100%. I'll be checking that out for sure. Oh, that sounds awesome. It's just, I mean, a lot of podcasts are the same, and it's when you find I'm always looking for something different because, as I said, I'm massive nerd, massive wrestling. So I mean, I've been really enjoying our chat with you today. So I'm going to jump on and have a listen to that podcast on the way home tomorrow. So that's awesome. So okay, just one last time. Plug your books. Where can people buy them? Where they get them? Because we want to try and help as much as possible. And the Kickstarter, make sure you plug that because we'll put a link to it because I'm going to go to it after we finish. We'll put a link on the video on screen and also in the notes.
Awesome. Okay, so first, you go to my website, buymichaeltanner.com, where you can find out about all my stuff, different books I've done. You can visit my web store where you can buy the books. If you're in the United States, I can ship them to you for free. Internationally, message me and I'll let you know what it is. If you like digital comics, you can go to Comixology where you can read Orcs in Space or Junior Braves of the Apocalypse, and then go to Kickstarter.com. In the search bar, type Battle Grapple Rebel and you'll go to my sci-fi pro wrestling comic book. The Kickstarter campaign ends May 9th, so get in while the getting's good.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on, Michael.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. I loved it. I will definitely invite you guys on Burn After Pitching.
Sweet. We actually have another friend that would be perfect for it. You know, Chris, Ryan.
Yeah.
How good would he be at Burn After Pitching? He doesn't even need preparation.
So we used to do a Dungeons and Dragons podcast. It wasn't we used the base of 5th edition. And then also got into Fusion a little bit too. But yeah, he is the world builder. He was the DM, and man, that was he I don't know where he gets his ideas from. So 100% he'd be awesome.
Nice.
But thank you so much for coming on, and thanks for listening, guys. And we'll catch you next time.